So, for a short introduction, I'm Sébastien. I've co-founded Jalgos. We are an AI research team, and what we do is we apply AI to solve a real-life problem for our customers. Tonight, I'm going to speak about some unexpected effects and some adverse effects of big data algorithms that could have big consequences on a global scale. So I would like to start by first stressing out that AI has brought a lot of progress in our daily lives. So now we're able to search for content and knowledge very easily. We made tremendous progresses in prediction, and we're on the verge of seeing the way we do healthcare being totally revolutionized. So for sure, AI has done some really stunning progress, and maybe because the achievement of AI are so big, we are less interested by the negative effects of AI, maybe the failure of AI. And this, I'm gonna show you on a few examples how big data algorithms can sometimes go wrong. So I will start first with an example in personalized online advertising. So personal advertising is one of the best way to monetize a website on the internet. It has been one of the first use of big data, I would say. So first, I will tell you a little bit about how personalized advertising works. So the goal of personalized advertising is to make for better segments and make for better segments and then have increased the ad revenues. So to better segment users, you can use personal data that go beyond just gender, age, address, nationality. You can use basically anything that any data that the user generates. So it could be the history of content visited. It could be all the images and emails the user has sent. I mean, you can think of anything. So Facebook and Google foresaw the risks of discrimination by letting advertisers do anything they wanted with personal data. And so they have strict guidelines preventing advertisers to use this data to discriminate directly users. However, the guidelines are not directly enforced, and users must report abuse. And a study that dates back to 2015 showed that actually a lot of advertisers don't respect these guidelines, and that some online ads were discriminative. For example, they found out that ads for career improvements, job ads, would be different whether you were a man or a woman. Men were presented with higher paid jobs than women, which is a clear case of discrimination. Then, to illustrate maybe further that segmentation can be a risk for discrimination, Google has a feature that allows you. Facebook has a feature that allows you to either exclude or target people specifically by interest. And so recently, so this is a study done by ProPublica that was published about a week ago. So recently, Facebook used an algorithm to to select relevant tag that advertiser could use, and ProPublica was able to directly target Jews hater. So if you can read on the screenshot on the right, you see that that ProPublica was targeting people who had an interest in the topic Jew hater. So this illustrates that there is a really thin line between segmentation and personalized advertising and discrimination. And another risk that is very important is that even if the advertisers don't use directly age, gender, or race to target people with ads, the algorithms that do the targeting could pick up these features from the other data. We could imagine that a reader of Elle magazine, an ad that targets reader of Elle magazine will, of course, target women. So I will carry on with an example that is increasingly important. So this is the problem of cognitive bubbles, filter bubbles, and echo chambers. So I will give you a rapid outlook of how content is promoted on the various platforms you have out there. So basically, contents that have more likes, that have more references, that have more mentions, that have the more relevant keywords are promoted. So this is something that people who know about SEO know very well. And then content is increasingly personally recommended. So based on the history of the pages you liked or pages you visited, an algorithm is able to make clusters of people who are similar and content that are similar. And the goal is to present people with content they will already like to increase engagement. And so this, in the context of news, makes up for a terrible cocktail, because basically volume-based ranking forces news website to resort to some SEO techniques to rank higher. So they will prefer sensationalism. They will prefer clickbaits and also this will lead to poor quality of news articles. Then people are often presented with news they already agree with, news articles that present an opinion they already agree with before. So this led to polarization in opinions, because people didn't see a balanced opinion, and so increasingly poor quality articles that went the way they already thought. And this led to the famous spread of fake news. I won't go over this again. You can ask questions about it. And I would like to give you a third example that is more visual on how algorithms can learn biases. So this is Joyce. She's a computer science researcher at MIT. She wanted to play with the face recognition application. And as you can see on the upper picture, the software, it's very popular face recognition software, wasn't able to recognize Joy's face. However, when she wore a white mask, the software was able to recognize her face. So this is a typical example of bias in learning. Basically, the algorithm was trained on a set of images with faces, was trained to recognize the faces. But probably most of the faces were white, and so now the algorithm assumes that a face is a white face. Another example that is quite similar is the example of Meitu. Me Too is an app that is something like Snapchat, I would say, and it had a feature to make people more attractive. And so, as you can see, if you apply the feature on a black person, it would make them give them a lighter tone, give them more European features. And so, I won't really question the ethics of making such a feature, but this is another example of bias in training. So the algorithm was trained with a database of handsome people that were probably all white, and so it learned that a feature for being good looking is being white. So what is happening, and how can we counter this? So I think that there is a general misconception about AI. As I said in the introduction, AI is has proven so powerful that sometimes we even question that it could fail. So we have to remember that AI are just complex mathematical models that minimize an objective function on some training data, and it's nothing more than that. And basically, if there is a bias in the training data, this bias will show when the algorithm is released in the real world. And it's especially critical with the field like HR, or predictive justice, where the algorithms could pick up social biases. And actually, there are already examples of algorithms in these two fields that are biased against women or against black people. And the other explanation is that there is a total lack of auditability. The use of personal data is widespread, and we have no access to what personal data is used to train the algorithm, and or what the training data looks like. The big companies that run these algorithms don't benchmark them to make them more fair, or they don't implement any way to audit them. Then there is an obvious conflict of interest. As I said earlier, there's a thin line between segmentation and discrimination. And if you make algorithm less discriminative, you will hurt revenue. And actually, it costs you money to make them less discriminative. It's the same case with preventing fake news to spread. If you make recommender systems more fair, then then the engagement will lessen, which will hurt revenue. And then I would say that some domains are regulated, such as credit or insurance or health, and it's not insane to think that critical algorithms that actually shape the way we see the world could be regulated as well. Then if you want to go deeper on the subject, there are a few resources that I found really helpful. Do you have any question?
Thank you very much, Sébastien. This is cool. Really great. I'm going to start off with the first question. As an American citizen, I need to know if the failure of algorithms and fake news got Trump to be elected.
This is actually something very interesting. So it is said that companies used actually echo chambers to sway the opinion. I don't know if you read about the Cambridge Analytica. So it's a company that specifically targeted undecided voters to basically to suppress their votes. So the example is they targeted black people who were undecided with content that presented Clinton as a racist to have them either abstain or vote for Trump. And actually, it's quite impressive what they can do. They're able to, with a few history of like page, they're able to build a psychological profile of people, and they know which lever to use to sway them.
Questions to the room? Otherwise, I'll keep on. Mathis, you've got a question over here. Alexandra, you've got a first row.
Thanks a lot. Very interesting. And on a connected subject, do you think the dark web can interfere with algorithms and use them to achieve different kind of interest and objective, economical, political subjects? Do you think the dark web has an impact on algorithms?
Well, for big companies like, well, these effects are just with not publicly available data, but data that Facebook and Google has, and so I don't know. There's a lack of transparency. That's sure. Maybe some data can be found on the dark web. Like there's been many data leaks. So if Facebook got hacked, I don't know. You could buy data sets and then use them against people on the dark web, but without going that far, it's already quite alarming what can happen with public data.
Question over here, yeah.
Hi, I found the example of Meitu quite interesting. So Meitu is a Chinese app. So in my opinion, it might be designed and trained to be biased, as their Chinese users are. Sorry to say, but they have their aesthetics, and they thought that's more beautiful than what they define that's beautiful. So how should Meitu solve this problem if it intends to go international? So do you think it's possible they need to train based on each user from different cultural or every personal aesthetic preferences and to see what's beautiful for them?
Well, in the case of Meitu, I think that the first thing that is wrong is the claim. They claim that they will make you more attractive. So I don't know, it was a very bold claim. Yeah, AI is so strong, we're able to make you more attractive. Actually, like the defining attractiveness is hard. So quantifying attractiveness is even harder. They could have said, we will make you more attractive by Chinese standards, and you would have been perfectly fine. And yes, they can. I think that if they have, well, it's really hard to build, but they could have unbiased samples that would fit the criteria for attractiveness for everyone, and then it would be fine. But I don't know, I think the problem is actually twofold. Yeah.
Do you believe, there's a question over there, do you believe governments should regulate, or do you think the market will auto-regulate itself in this type of...
Well, I think the first step is actually to be able to better audit all these algorithms. So, like, there could be some benchmarks or some, like, just to, you could have like some, not performance test, but something that checks whether an algorithm is discriminative, if the ads shown by an algorithm discriminate people, if an ecosystem is more favorable to spreading news. And yeah, I think that, I mean, it's certainly like it needs to be done by a government, I think, more than
a regulatory body.
Yeah,
and the market is still too young to auto-regulate.
Yeah, and I personally don't believe that the market can auto-regulate.
Okay. We'll take one last question for Sébastien over here on the right.
In the EU GDPR regulation that's
Yeah.
coming in May, there's a reference, or there's a regulation deep in it that talks about explainability of algorithmic decisions like these. The European resident has the the right to ask for an explanation as to why the algorithm made the decision. Is this even possible, the way things work now?
Well, I know that the way credit scoring is done needs to be audited in that way, and this is how it's done. Credit scoring can be audited, and I think that it could be, yeah. Actually, we could build something, a model where every decision could be audited. Maybe try to make model simpler, or or have them tested, as I said before. But yeah, I think as things are now, it's difficult, but I think it's definitely possible. Yeah.
Sebastian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Will you stay on for the cocktail after?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So more questions for you later on. Thank you so much.